I remember holding my baby boy, who's now 24, and he was straddling my belly, and I was like 32 or 33 at the time, thinking, well, I mean, this is it. I'm just old now.
You got a cold plunge. You got a, intense sauna. Which one of those do you find that really work?
I don't think there's anything. All of the things that really matter, we already know about, and they're hard to implement. The outcome over several years is astounding if you actually take action.
You know what? Like, just watching you on, social media, website, it's kind of like, it's always from afar, but you just look like this whole package, man. What are some of your secret sauces? Like you give us a little bit of a background. You give us like the quick background of Todd, and then where did this change come into play? And give us some secret sauce. I know that's a lot in there. I know you're very big on what you've termed the wheel of health, which I think is really fascinating. I want to dive into. How are you so jacked and smart? Let's start there.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for noticing. A bit of my background is that I'm probably one of the, or originally was one of the least healthy people you'd know. Just a total medical disaster, and interested in not being that, but was trained to believe that those are just my predispositions, and that was just the way it was. I mean, when I remember holding my baby boy, who's now 24, in the middle of the night while he was crying up against my chest, and he was straddling my belly, and I was like 32 or 33 at the time, thinking, well, I mean, this is it. I'm just old now, and I'm fat. and that's just that's the way it was going to be. Like I'm not appealing to the opposite sex anymore, and I'm not, which wasn't a big deal because I was married and everything. But it was over for me basically. And I was told that was the case by the doctors that I had seen. I had lots of medical problems that forced me to end up spending time in the clinics of specialists like cardiologists, ear, nose, and throat specialists. I had that nasal surgery that fixes a deviated septum, and all sorts of problems that sprung from that. And I'm also wired in such a way to be ultra type A, which is not good for health. It flies in the face of it. And I still haven't unwound those things.
I'm with you there, man.
I aspire to be type B and not give up anything for it.
Yeah.
And I have not figured that out. It'll take me the next decade.
If you figure that out,
I'll figure that shit out for sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do all sorts of extreme things, and some of them will work. And when I find a potpourri of options, I'll put them all together, and we'll start using them on a regular basis.
Love it.
So anyway, I started in not a great place. Like, and because of where I've landed today, and I've got a lot of progress to still make, and I think I find that exciting because as I've gone through this process, I've realized that, well, I'm not gifted in these things. Anybody, if I can do this, anybody can. It's just for lack of direction, poor strategy, and the execution is off. And when those things are course corrected, I mean, genetically speaking, I think we're like about 2.5% different from each other. It's a small percentage. We all have that capability, unless you go for too far. Like my parents, for example, are too far gone. We're managing them to the best of our ability, but like my mom has a replaced hip, and she's got chronic joint problems elsewhere, and she has sleep issues. My dad has all sorts of problems that are common for an 84-year-old, and like 15 meds, and that's really tough. But before you get to that state, the potential, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Like if you want to increase your vertical to 40 inches, I have no doubt that there is a way for you to do it. You may have to sacrifice too much to get there.
I think you might have hit my pain point there, Todd. Like that was my goal.
Well, you mentioned basketball,
and I was using jump soles. Didn't quite get there. So we're still working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are ways.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I don't think I answered your question though. What was your question?
Oh no, if you could answer my question of vertical leap, I think you did it.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to dive into the wheel of health, and I've heard you speak about it. I've read about it. I want to know, like, how did that come to be? What are the benefits that we can take away from it? This is all about, you are the expert in this. How can we take away and apply it on a daily basis?
Okay, let me give you a little bit of historical context. So I'm on a fishing boat with a very intelligent buddy of mine. He's the founder of, remember the original iPhone?
Yeah.
Like in 2011 or something, 2010.
Totally.
The cases, they were made by a company called Spec. That's his company. His name's Ryan.
Wow. Okay.
I'm on a fishing boat with him, brilliant guy. And he's all excited about this book called Well that was written maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it sort of dissected what that means. And in every single category, you're supposed to have something that's measurable that you take a look at on an annual basis to make sure that you're kind of pushing the needle forward. And he looked at me, he goes, one of them is health. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I can run a mile under 7 minutes for the rest of my life. I'm just going to make sure I can do that. And I remember looking at him thinking, oh, you don't know anything. You're so sophisticated, but there's so many other aspects of health that you have to have in order that may have nothing to do with your ability to run 7-minute mile that can tank you, can destroy you, can push you into the hospital and you'll never recover from. So you just don't understand. And I had been trying to explain to him and other friends of mine for several years leading up to that, what health actually is. It was a frustration of mine. And it's easier now, like, with RFK Jr. in Washington and all this conversation around functional health or functional medicine rather, and things like recovery. Like we were working on those things 14, 15 years ago. And to have conversations with people was like, we were not speaking their language. It just didn't land. And so I decided, well, I have to come up with a philosophy that I can communicate over and over again, that people can understand, at least conceptually, what this thing means. And it should be complete, like not just cardiovascular health that enables you to run a 7-minute mile, but all of you. And so I went to work on that philosophy, which is the wheel of health. And I stole it. The origination of the concept.
From the Germans or the Russians or the Bulgarians?
The Russians. I stole it from the Chinese. Ooh, that sounds even more exciting. I stole it from the Chinese. And no, but it came from the old wheel of life concept. Are you familiar with that?
The wheel of life. No, I know the wheel of fortune, but not the wheel of life.
Nothing like. But you go ahead and search the wheel of life. Its concept is there's a circle. It looks like a wheel, and it's got these lines in it that I would call spokes, and it makes up this wheel. And it's got every category in your life that's really important. Like your relationship with a significant other is one spoke. Your health is another spoke. Your wealth is another spoke. Your career, personal relationships, personal time, or sports, or whatever it is that is important for you as an individual. And the concept is that if any one of those spokes falls apart, like let's say your marriage, it can collapse everything else around you, or your wealth, it can certainly collapse a marriage and your career. And so the idea is that you have to spend time periodically introspectively considering all the spokes, and then strategically, how do you do something like, as a parent, for example, and a business owner and a spouse, how do I make sure I'm making sure my son knows I love him, and making sure that my health is intact, and doing something that I also enjoy? And the answer is you do several spokes at once, and you just think it through so you can strategically apply that, and then you start putting it in your calendar. Like I'm gonna go hunting with my son, and we're gonna talk about relationships, and so I'm spending time with him. I'm teaching him something and doing something that I love. I'm outside as well, so there's a health implication. You kind of get the idea, and that's how I've designed my life. And I decided, well, I should. The same concept applies to health. Like the real effective tools in health are not a pharmaceutical that takes care of a sliver of your health and destroys several other things, but rather applying something like going for a walk outside with someone that affects your mental well-being, your vitamin D levels, your body composition. And so I just hit 3 spokes just by describing going for a walk. And if you start then blending things like your work life into it, so I'm going to go for a walk with a candidate, In my current work life, I would mic us both up. I'd be interviewing you. It would go into my AI note taker. I'd be present the whole time, focused on everything you're saying, asking the right questions, getting vitamin D, getting my steps in, doing my work all at the same time.
Oh, okay. So you are kind of like same thing as the wheel of life. Almost was one of those Venn diagrams where they overlap each other
Yep.
and you get the
Yep.
benefits of both.
That's the
Like
only way to
that.
do it.
That was middle
So
school.
the overarching concept is to be healthy is how do we take our current life, which is that's fabulous. I mean, I'm sitting in a room. It's like 70 degrees and it's comfortable. But how do I do my work and be healthy and do things that I love all at the same time? There's no
Yeah.
balance. It's integration. So how do
Yeah.
I bring them all together?
It's a dance.
And
It's a
depending,
rhythm. It's a dance.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, like if I need to do some strength training, which I do 2 to 4 times a week on average, all the way around the year, and I don't have time to do the other things, I'll bring the other things into it. Like I spend time with a close buddy, and have them do it with me.
Yep.
You
Yep.
kind of get the idea. I don't.
Totally.
The idea is not to make sacrifices,
Yeah.
but to be strategic and be thoughtful around how to craft your life so your body is used like it was designed to be used, but you still do your job and you take care of the things that are important to you.
Yeah. So it's basically, yeah, I love this. I mean, I think this is a key to life in terms of, rhythm. And I always talk about the rhythm of life. How's your rhythm? Because there's never going to be a point where you're just like, oh, I'm good. Like everything is easy. It's a constant, it's a balance here. It's a balance here. It's a dance here. It's over here. It's over here. But making it seem like a way that's not overwhelming, where you're too, paralyzed to even do anything. Because I think that's where it gets to the point of like everything's too overwhelming. You can't do anything. You're combining them all together. So can you walk us through some more that you'll do on that in terms of, because when you look at you from the outside, like successful business owner, great family, in great shape. So obviously you're doing something right on a consistent basis. And is there any other secret sauces that you'll do in there? You said strength training 2 to 4 times a week. What else?
Yeah. There's a lot that I do, and much of it is around measuring. And so I
Okay,
think of
talk to
my
us on
body.
measuring it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This
Yeah,
is interesting. I think everything that in anything in life, it's if you can track it, if you can measure it, you can grow it. It's like a business,
yeah.
stats on the
Mhm.
basketball court. Okay, talk to us
Yeah,
on
and
measuring.
that's getting easier and easier as you know. Like the
Right.
first, I've been tracking my sleep for I think 10 or 12 years or something like that. And the first one was a heart rate monitor to check my HRV, which didn't actually track sleep. The second was a device that slipped in between the mattress and box spring in my bed. But sometimes it would pick up the dog. Sometimes my wife. It wasn't perfect. But those were like the early pre Oura Ring or pre Whoop days. But the concept of measuring is really important. So some things that are easily measured if there is a consumer device like an Oura Ring and an Apple Watch. Others are a little bit more complex that I think are very, very important as well, which and are less frequent, which are like labs. And so there are labs that I get done on a quarterly basis, which is just normal within the Stark ecosystem. Other labs that are done semi-annually, just because the needle moves more slowly, like a Boston Heart metabolic panel, for example. Other tests that are done a little bit more frequently because, the needle changes or moves more frequently, like a DEXA scan for body composition. And by
Oh
the way, a
yeah,
little bit out.
how fun are those? That's like the most honest, punch you in the face
Yeah,
kind of scan you can get. I mean, I
yeah,
went
it
there.
can be a punch in the face. Yep.
Yeah, it was for me last time I went. I thought I was doing really well, and then it didn't look so good on the scan.
Yeah, yeah. That's the downside or the problem of measuring. You
At
have to
least you
be
know.
able to be in an emotional state that's
Yeah.
strong enough to handle the periodic setbacks.
It's an
But that's the
analytical
whole
versus
point.
emotional. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, run your body like you run your business. You would never like launch a marketing campaign without looking at the metrics
Mm.
and managing them and making changes accordingly. It's the same thing. It's the same kind. It's nothing. Really cutting edge. Is basic concepts. And then the other one I think is really critical is doing regular bone mineral density tests, and those would be done once or twice a year, just to make sure that you're not facing any decline there. And hopefully your audience, they're doing the things that are necessary to at least maintain their bone mineral density, which certainly can be a problem if you allow it to kind of fall apart as you get older. And then that in collaboration with the periodic continuous blood glucose glucometer and other wearable devices, and then you have this dashboard, if you will, of what's actually happening in your body. The wheel of health concept takes all the metrics that we think are important for all of your health and quantifies them in spokes. So you look at it at a glance, and you're going to see that there's a divot, and in your sleep recovery and stress, that would be the one for me. There'll be a divot, and cardiovascular health is another divot for me, and everything else is really good. So obviously, I need to be fully aware of what are the changes we're making in my plan to help prop those things up, and when they're not working, adjust the protocol, and then try again, and adjust the protocol, and try again. And eventually I'm going to see those things pop, and my wheel will become circular, which is cool. The overall target. And then expand that over time to get to a point where in every single category, you're really like a young person. And then the concept of longevity comes fairly easily, at least on a foundational level. You've got it dialed in, and then you can expand by adding, fancy little things like methylene blue or cold plunges or, stem cell therapy for a knee problem or whatever.
All right. Which one of those kind of things, as you touch on that, which one of those do you find that really work? I think there's so many options out there. You'll get people who are like, you got a cold plunge, you got a, intense sauna, which ones do you find, even with peptides, man? I've tried some peptides and I've honestly haven't felt any different. People are like, oh man, this BBC 157 is the thing. I'm like, nah, I don't know.
Well, it's a great question. I don't think there's anything. All of the things that really matter, we already know about, and they're hard to implement. Because we're talking about our bodies have a design to them, and if you just go back 200 years and imagine what someone's lifestyle was like back then, and then you just try to replicate it with your current lifestyle, try to blend it into it, that's really the answer. And it's hard. It's it was dark. It was cool at night. It was quiet. These are the things. You just grab those. I mean, for the entire existence of humanity, our bodies were used in that way, and then suddenly and recently they've changed, and that's the problem that people are facing right now. That's why we are so unhealthy, because our bodies won't adapt to this that quickly. Maybe never, but we can adapt our lifestyle to it. And so to those sort of secondary therapies outside of lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, and stress management, hormone replacement therapy, when you're ready, is a game changer, mostly for cognition and cardiovascular health. And nobody thinks about it like that. They think that
No, I don't either.
Arnold Schwarzenegger did it, and he's just doing it to get big muscles. That's an antiquated concept, but the idea is to bring your hormonal profile back to what it was when you were theoretically naturally optimal, which would have been somewhere between 18 and 30, depending on the individual. And that would look like, and you'll get a lot of listeners upset about this, but it's gonna be a total testosterone range of 900 to 1100 and free testosterone ranges of 20 to 30. Those are optimal male testosterone levels for a young male. And so when you bring yourself back up to that level, you merely have the tool in the toolbox to become what you probably weren't when you were 25. I wasn't when I was 25. Obviously, I didn't use that tool adequately, and now I do.
Yeah.
But back to the concept that sex hormones are mostly a set of brain hormones and cardiovascular health hormones. Your cardiovascular health is going to improve, and your cognition is going to improve. Your outlook is going to improve. Your sense of you being able to accomplish something that's important to you will be greater. When you take the first step, you're going to be like, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I can accomplish it. And that will be a big difference from your previous self which was in the throes of the end stages of andropause. So the back up to thinking like a 25-year-old with that rosier outlook informs a huge number of decisions, like just believing you can, increase your vertical to 40 inches, or you can get abs, or you can fix your bad knee, or you can find the one that you love. You'll eventually get there. But the belief of those things changes everything epigenetically, and the outcome over several years is astounding if you actually take action. But if you don't take any action, it doesn't really matter.
It's really good, man.
Those ancillary, that's an ancillary thing. I don't think that's primary, because if you don't do lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, stress management properly, hormone replacement therapy doesn't matter. I know, I've seen it 100 times. Like, the dude doesn't change, the female doesn't change, her outlook doesn't improve. Well, it's because you can't just skip that. Like, you can't do methylene blue. I don't know much about that, honestly, so I don't want to get too much into that topic. But you can't jump into that.
You get a blue tongue.
You're not going to get the outcomes you expect if you don't do those fundamentals. You're not going to get the benefits of a cold plunge, for example, which I'm a big fan of, mostly for mental, emotional reasons. The big dopamine spike just changes your outlook on things, makes things rosier for a period of 3 to 7 hours, depending on the individual. That's really valuable. Like doing something hard, growing the mid-cingulate cortex, I think it's called, the part of the brain that
Well, I think
grows
we
when
all,
you do hard things.
like it's the challenging things that grow. Totally, we hear that, and I do like your point. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's, if you talk 200 years ago, there's not as many choices. Now there's so many choices that optionality makes us choose these things, and then we're trying to reverse the optionality with all the choices to get back to where we were. But then we would have liked to be where we are here. So it's this dichotomy of, try to get back here, but you also got these great choices and so many options. It's a weird, setup where life is, I guess. And I always wonder too, like, why did God give 18-year-olds the highest testosterone when they don't need it? You don't need it in high school like that. That's not a good thing for high schoolers to have. Like, give it to us later on in life, God. That's going to be a question I have for him, for sure.
You know what? It's interesting. They don't anymore. I don't know if you know that.
What?
18-year-olds do not have high testosterone levels any longer.
Why? Because they're just on. I don't know. Why don't they? What happened?
So they have access to 100% of the world's porn in their pocket. Video games will. Okay. I don't know, but if you've ever played a video game, like a modern video game, in contrast to Atari when I was a kid, you can easily burn through 8 hours and have it be no problem.
Yeah, totally.
And they can't sleep. They're not sleeping.
Now, there's a flip side of that. Video games have also proven to be better for doctors and hand-eye coordination too. So there's always, I think with anything, there's the positive and the negative, right? A double-edged sword.
I totally agree with what you're saying. When you put it in the hands of a teenager and they're playing, I don't know, Call of Duty. Yeah. Until 3 a.m, and then they go to high school the next morning at 7 a.m. There's no chance they're going to have high testosterone levels. There is no chance. And then they're spending the rest of their free time looking at porn on their phone. No chance. They're high prolactin levels, low T levels. It's just how our bodies are designed. Yeah. And that's the reason that it's such a disaster. Oh, then you throw the plastic curveball into things, and everybody's got plastic in their testes. Men do. That's another issue.
Phone is an interesting thing, man. It's anything like, it's like a hammer, right? Like, it can build a beautiful house. It can also be the most deadly murder weapon. It's just how you use it. I kind of think like that's what's coming with AI too. Do you have any insight or, thoughts on AI in training, in, physical training and the whole wellness thing with AI? Do you think that can help in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So the way Stark is designed is to execute with people. And we are moving toward using large language models to enhance the productivity of our people because it's so hands-on. And so we're the early adopters. And what that means is like I have 14 years or 15 years of training programs that are designed for specific outcomes. We have the specific outcomes designed. We have the programs themselves. We have my DEXA results. We have labs. We have all this information. All of that gets dumped into a large language model, and any of our practitioners then can ask questions of it about like, well, what should Todd do next? Like, if this is his goal, what should he do next? And so, in the presence of that kind of data, AI becomes very, very powerful. And that will be accessible to people outside of the Stark ecosystem later. And that will be the future. We're already, I mean, you can ask it to design a training program to help you jump to 40 inches. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it will be better every year, right? Or every month. And so there's a lot of information that will be there. You still have to execute. But what I envision within the Stark ecosystem is at some point, because everything is carried out by people. So, for example, a training program is designed, and training programs in general scare me because they're so powerful. And by that, I mean, you can create a disaster of a human by designing the wrong training or doing the wrong type of training. Totally. Like I've experienced myself, like cause shoulder problems and knee problems and back problems by not doing the right things and doing too much of the wrong things, because it's really, really effective. And so we'll be using these tools that will speed up the process, and other lay people will have access to those same things down the road that will help prevent problems caused by exercise and elicit the right outcomes. And you're asking this question about like the future of health. As you look at strength training, we're already kind of seeing this. I think there's definitely going to be, and there has to be, a movement away from Arnold Schwarzenegger type bodybuilding strength training to strength training that's more functionally focused, which is, again, it already exists. It's just becoming more and more commonplace, and will be the only way people will strength train in the future, because it's such a powerful approach to health, and it will change the shape of, it'll change your posture, how you sit, how you feel. It should anyway.
Now, do you think there's a minimal viable exercise amount, strength training amount, that can be utilized through AI in the future and technology? I know there's some people of the belief, I can't even remember their names, back in the day, that would do one workout a week of just incredible high intent. Mike Menzel, I think it was, incredible high intensity. But basically on the mindset of let's be as efficient as possible. Do you think there's anything with AI that can make training more efficient? Because it's another interesting thing. Like, I used to go to this place out here in Santa Monica, LA, and there's this place called Bulletproof Labs, and they were kind of like the biohacking for everything. And they had these machines, like this ARX machine that was supposed to, be a workout in 20 minutes. That would be the equivalent of, 3 workouts for the week. So my question is, do you think in AI, there's something that can make workouts just as efficient, but in less time, minimal viable?
I think we already know what those things are. And I think it depends on what outcome it is that you want.
I want to look like you, Todd. What's what's the minimal viable? No, I'm just kidding.
It's not much, honestly. I think that 2 or 3 hours a week is not a lot of time.
Yeah.
You have 160 some odd hours a week. I mean, you'll spend a lot more time eating and a lot more time sleeping. It's not a lot of time in your schedule. Less than that. We don't even need to move that much, to be honest. Like if you, the average American moves about a half an hour a day. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I move about 2.5 hours a day. That's not a lot of time in contrast to the amount of hours that we have in a day. It's less than 10%. So it's not, we don't really have to do a lot.
Let me pull back a second to what we were talking about earlier too, because I had a thought on that of, being able to prescribe the right amount or the right, training protocol for someone based on who they are, right? Like if I'm doing something, our bodies aren't meant to do the same thing maybe, or me and Arnold's aren't meant to do the same thing. Like how can somebody know? Because I think it's one of those things that's just like, it's a really guessing game in terms of how should you train based on your body type, your genomics, your DNA. How should you eat based on, you can guess, You can say, hey, I'm going to have these macros and this carbs and fats and stuff. But how can you dial it into the point of like, this is what I should be doing for the, the maximum results and highest efficiency and optimization?
That's a good question. I don't actually believe that genetics play much of a role
Okay.
at all. I think that what you did to your body up until that point in time where you decide to head down this road is way more important. There's a great book called The Biology of Belief that talks all about the epigenome and how it's actually affecting everything, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, the sunlight on our face, all the things that we do are having a much greater impact than our genetics. The epigenome is controlling your genes. It's not to say that genetics don't play a role at all, but you can't really control them much, but you have total control over your epigenome. And that's where all of your focus, I think, should be. So the question was, I lost my train of thought, was,
can you get closer to, protocoling something more specific that's going to help somebody? Like I could do two completely different workouts, right?
mm-hmm.
Like if my goal is to build muscle, lean muscle, is it all the same for everybody? Or is it, hey, David, you should do 3 days a week. You should do some sprints too. You should do a little bit of this. Johnny over here, like you should probably do this. Like, is it the same for everybody?
It's not, because you have to consider where you are today versus, let's say you're with 5 buddies. The other 4 are in different places in terms of, let's say, their body composition, their physical health, their orthopedic health. Let's say you limp in, you have a knee problem. That changes everything too. So everything that you've done to your body or with your body up until that point in time affects what the program should look like, and what your goals are too. If you your body, like if you're a newbie, doing strength training twice a week will matter a lot. If you are advanced like me, it's a placeholder. Like I'm going to slide back, and it may be fine for me to slide back. I can lose 5 pounds of muscle. It's not really a big deal. If I don't care about it, and I spend less time and put more of that time into pickleball or something, and because that's what I really want to do, that's great too. I mean, pickleball has some other benefits like social connection and stuff. And so the answer is it really depends and varies a lot from one individual to another because the goals are different and what they show up with are different.
Sure. Yeah. Do you think there's any kind of like, thing that shows this is the ultimate, if you can do this, you're in great shape or you're an athlete? Like I would say sprinting. If you're at any age and you can full out sprint, I don't care how fast it is, but if you can do that, you're in really good shape. Some people would say it's grip strength. That shows how strong you are or, how healthy you are. Do you think there's anything that could be like, hey, if you can do this, you're at a really good spot or the top spot?
Yeah, but I don't think you can boil it down to a single category. Like grip strength is an exceptional measure of strength.
Yeah,
like your whole body.
Right.
It's a great measure. It's a $350 dynamometer. We use them at Stark. You check where you're at, like the optimal male. Well, I think it's 120 pounds or something. Check both hands. So that's one. Cardiovascular health. There's a laundry list of maybe 10 or 12 markers, including VO₂max. That's merely one of them. It's not the only one because they're all looking at you. Our bodies are complex. And so to really understand how we're doing, you have to approach all parts of your health in unique ways. Like mental well-being, we use there's a university in Edinburgh. We use their mental well-being test because we're not looking for mental illness. We're looking to see like how happy is David? Like how optimal is he from a mental well-being standpoint? For body composition, the DEXA scan is the best. And within the DEXA scan, really the only super accurate measure is the amount of adipose tissue. Actually, 2, and more specifically, visceral adipose tissue. So your total body fat amount in pounds and your visceral adipose tissue in pounds are the only accurate measures because your weight fluctuates, and that just means you're bouncing around with water weight. So that's a really important one.
This is cool, man. So this is all seen on the wheel. Like this is so cool.
Yeah.
So you take all these different levels and you're measuring all these different levels at the highest level of their individual measurement, putting it together. You're basically becoming Iron Man, Stark Iron Man, even though it's a German Stark Iron Man, but you are Superman.
Yeah.
Superman, maybe Superman's.
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
the idea.
cool. That's really
And
cool.
everybody has that capability.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, hey, Todd, man, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And
My
is there
pleasure.
anything you want to, leave the audience with, like, hey, here's how you can check more about Stark Health. Obviously, you're a great follow on social media. If you want to aspire to be like Todd, like I do. Yeah.
You can find us at stark.health. That's the best way to find us. And on Instagram, my handle is Testosterone. That's TESTODDERONE. Testosterone.
Are you saying that are you saying that testosterone is one of the ultimate, things that we all should have high, right?
If you have everything else in place, it's a shocking upgrade.
It is,
the way you think. That's the first place you'll notice it. Is like, I'm optimistic.
Man, that's crazy.
I want to do things. Like, I'm excited about life. That's the biggest, at least for a healthy person.
Yeah.
My body comp was good when I went on it.
Yeah.
But my outlook, my joint health also changed.
Amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. So cool. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So how can we focus on that more? What do you think the shift will be? Because this is pretty revolutionary, I would say, in terms of, no one talks about this.
Yes. Well, good lifestyle practices are definitely imperative, which is resistance training and diet. But I also think measuring intramuscular adipose tissue so you have a baseline is going to be important. And how you're going to do that is going to be your next question. Well, we don't have great and easy ways to do that.
Gotcha.
How we would do it would be ultrasound or MRI. And say, for example, in Japan, an individual could get an MRI for like $100. But here, it's not as accessible. Yeah. The moment it becomes more accessible is the moment we're going to be able to see at a population level in the US what we're actually dealing with. But I think the problem is that intramuscular adipose tissue.
That's really cool.
So it's this idea of muscle quality.
I love that.
It's not just about having more muscle. It's about having better functioning muscle.
Yeah.
It's that lean muscle quality. And I think that's what's so critical.
Well, let's keep talking about that too, because I think it's like, looking at, and it's just how people are, right? They, you also believe people that look the part, and you and Don live it and look it. And I also think it's a thing of like, hey, it's something to shoot for, to look like you, to look like Don. So let's just say, like, hey, what are some of these, getting quality muscle, the way to train hard? Like, what are some, if we can go inside your world?
I mean, I think it's really exciting. Think about it.
I do too.
If we can quantify the amount of healthy muscle someone should have and begin to actually place qualifications. So for example, a lower quality muscle would be a weaker muscle, which has fat like in between these muscle bundles. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And let's say your body fat, which it's not, would be 30%, and my producer's body fat is 20%, but you had very low intramuscular adipose tissue, you would be healthier even though your body fat's higher.
Interesting. But then wouldn't you want to be like, well, cool, but...
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but it really allows us to reframe things. And I bet you these GLP-1s play a role in intramuscular adipose tissue, which is why there is, in part, PCOS, which we talked about, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is the number one cause of female infertility. There's a handful of studies where they're using Ozempic to treat PCOS. And one of the changes that they were looking at was the change in intramuscular adipose tissue.
Wow. So they're in that right now. They're going through that right now to find out. Maybe this, Ozempic is a wonder drug.
I mean, it's definitely a wonder drug.
In more ways than it already is.
But also, listen, we know that there's no free lunch. But again, that's
a good point, because that's what I was kind of waiting for.
There's no free lunch.
Where does that free lunch come back and be a cost.
I mean, well, the fact is you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no free lunch. When you take Ozempic, I mean, there's a lot to think about there. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that we should say is that it's everybody's right to choose. I believe in body autonomy, and you can choose.
Yeah.
If you feel that you are someone who wants to try it and you don't have any health issues that would say that you can't, then you should. Mm-hmm. Whether you have 10 pounds to lose or 5 pounds to lose. Who are we to say that that's not appropriate? What if that person who struggles with the last 5 pounds is being mentally tortured?
There you go. That's a good point.
And have tried. I mean, you're all into mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's to say?
If that's the thing that's holding them back from a joy-filled life, it's not our decision to make of what holds somebody back. If that's their thing, then sure, that can be their unlock to help them get past that point. I agree.
So who are we to say?
Yeah.
Or criticize?
Yeah.
Now, does it potentially take the hard work out of changing body composition? Maybe. Or does it just free up the mind to be able to focus on the things that matter most for that person?
Well, that's an interesting point too, because it does take a lot to stay in great shape, get in great shape. And if you don't have that a lot, and an interesting point too is like, I think a lot of people lose when they're on the road, when they have to go out to eat. Like, I think there's a lot of external variables that, you know, if you're at home all the time and you have the discipline to, you know, eat the same.
I have a solution to what you're saying.
And that's what I was getting to. I was setting up that question because
I have a solution for
you.
I
need this answer.
Standards. You set standards for how you operate in this world.
Yeah.
Don Saladino, my best friend, that guy, he's got standards. I know when he's coming to visit me, I know that his room, he's going to have his Fiji water. And I know that I'm going to get this delivered, that delivered, and he's going to be all set up because he's got standards.
I love that.
And when you set standards, you are less distracted. You have way more discernment.
So good.
When you are discerning, you have less internal conflict. You lose that pull of should I do this, or should I eat that, or should I skip my workout, or should I be on my phone when I'm hanging with my kids? But if you set the standard and you are discerning in your thoughts and your actions, then you can follow your path.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where it came from. You can go find another episode just like it right here. Come on. You can click it. You know you want to.